Hey, Mocha Latte here, and at the end of this video you're going to know how to record the audio and the video in order to make a fairly good quality guitar cover video. So some of the things that you're going to need for this, first one would be a camera, and I'm using an iPhone 10.
An iPhone 10, the most advanced iPhone we've ever made.
You need an interface, and for this one I'm using an M Audio Quad. You can also use something like this, which is an Apogee Jam. And I've also got another one as well, which is called a TC Electronics Connect 24D. I'm using a MacBook Pro to record into. For all of the geeks out there that are interested in the spec of my machine, it is a 2.8 GHz quad-core Intel i7 with 16 GB of RAM and a terabyte SSD. So what you'll also need on the computer is something to record into. So obviously you've got your guitar, you've got the cables going into the interface goes into your computer, and then you need some software to record onto. So personally I'm using Logic Pro 10. You could use GarageBand or Cubase or Pro Tools, any kind of digital audio workstation or DAW. Next, some speakers or headphones. So my setup involves, I've got some Logitech like standard speakers that you'd hook into pretty much any computer setup, and then I've also got some Yamaha HS7s set up for the more precise mixing as well. So the good thing about this for me is I get to blend between the two speakers, cut between the two speakers, so that I can have a really accurate depiction of what it sounds like, and then I can run it on your standard speakers as well and see if it sounds good on both. You'll need a tripod, something to hold your camera in. And then finally, of course, for making a video, we need to edit the video, so some video editing software as well. So I used to work for Apple, and that's why I'm using pretty much all Apple products. And the video editing software that I'm using will be Final Cut Pro 10, but you can also use iMovie or Adobe Premiere. But I really like Final Cut Pro because of things how easy it is to edit multicam clips, as you'll see in my next video. So the first thing to mention would be lighting. So even though this room is a white painted room, it shows a huge difference when I'm using artificial light compared to the daylight that's coming through the window now. I prefer to shoot my videos where I can, kind of mid-afternoon on a bright day, but if anyone knows the UK, you'll know that those bright sunshiny days are relatively rare, so I do it whenever I can. You could also use light packs, so there's a link in the description below for a pack that is pretty good that I've used before, that you can get from Amazon. And this is an interesting one, particularly for me, because I always get annoyed about the things that are behind me, particularly this door and this alarm box. So I would recommend having either a not too distracting or a not too boring background. What I tend to do when I'm recording videos is I'll have a guitar or two behind me, so that it's not just a plain white wall or just a random room in someone's house. So what's interesting is you can probably see I'm looking down. What I'm looking at right now is my Mac with QuickTime player running, and it's basically set up so I can see the camera feed through the display, because most iPhones or most smartphones in general, the best camera is on the back. Well, I can't see what that camera can see because the screen's facing the other way. So I hook up into QuickTime and get it to share the phone's. Basically the display is mirrored onto my Mac, so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my Mac. So basically, by being all hooked in like I am, I'm able to make sure that my framing is done to taste. I know that there's probably going to be some video experts out there that will debunk this or say that I shouldn't be doing something, but for me this is what works. Another thing that you could do is you just get your brother or sister or a family member or a friend to come and sit here holding the guitar whilst you frame and get the composition right. But if you're anything like me and you like to do this kind of thing on your own, then this is a good trick for you. So You may think, being an Apple guy through and through, that I'll just use the standard camera app, but I don't. And that's for two reasons. Number one is that it shows up the wrong way around on this setup that I'm using here to be able to see myself. And the second and more important is it is extremely powerful. So I've put a link again in the description down below so you can check this app out in your own time. But I mean, the camera app would suffice for you guys that don't want to spend £15 on an app. But I use a lot of the other functionality on the app anyway, so that's why I'm using that. Next to go into Logic, so Misha from Periphery's got some really good videos, and there's a great video about recording guitars. So I would recommend checking that out, but in short, don't clip your levels. I'll show you what that means in a second. Don't turn the guitar down too much, because then you've got a higher signal to noise ratio, which basically means that if I'm playing my guitar and it's only really quiet, there's going to be lots of noise taking up the rest of that space. But what you don't want is maximum volume and it's like overflowing it out of what's available, if that makes sense. And then what I do is I'll hard pan left and hard pan right. So what I'm going to do now is just prepare the track for recording. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing is just literally finding the file that I want to do a guitar cover of and dragging that into Logic. So I find my file. Today I'm going to use Story of the Year, A Part of Me. And there's a few reasons behind that. One main reason is because there's a couple of different layers, a couple of different guitar sounds in the track that I wanted to demonstrate some of the things that I do with Logic on there. And it's relatively easy to play. Plus it's quite cool because, you know, Story of the Year. There's my file. And I can already see that it's peaking quite a lot when I play back. Just goes to show how loud tracks are nowadays when they are mastered. So I've got my guitar panned left, another guitar panned right. One of these guitars is going to be my main rhythm track and the other one's going to be my lead part. I'll only really use this lead guitar channel here when there's maybe two different guitar parts playing rhythm and then a lead part or a solo or something like that. But given that this is for the intro and for another few sections of the song, I'm just going to use it as a panned right guitar part. The fans that you can hear, by the way, is because I'm running Logic and screen recording everything that's going on my Mac, so I'm putting my Mac through its paces at the moment. Plus it's getting old, bless it. So, one of the things that I mentioned before was to make sure that your guitar's not peaking. You can do this in two ways. The first one would be to set up the physical knobs on your interface to make sure that they're not too high. And then just take a look out for the level that's on here. So that input level coming in, you might want to have it so it's set central. So we can see that that's relatively just on the cusp of peaking. So I mean, this is just for the moment because I'm going to be playing on with the track, but what I would normally do is turn the volume of the track down a little bit. Okay, maybe we'll need a click track for this part. It'd be a lot easier if we had one, so let's just draw one of those real quick. We want to basically line up the start of the song on the start of the bar, and sometimes some songs with the introductions it doesn't work that way. Cool. So my main aim for this video is to do all of the recording and to do the video angles in one continuous take. So this is not the way I would normally do it. I would normally obviously not be trying to rush everything in, but I just wanted you to see that it could literally be done, and there's no magic or trickery that's going on. It's just move a camera there, press record one part, move it somewhere else, record another part. What I would tend to do is I'll have one guitar part recorded twice from two different spaces, two different angles, and then the second guitar part recorded twice again. So that means there's at least 4 different angles that I can play with, or 4 different shots. Sometimes I get excited and I don't think about that kind of thing, and it just turns out that I've got 1 or 2 different angles really that I can use. But maybe 2 different guitar parts but with the same angle because I didn't remember to change it. So anyway, there's a cool trick in Logic that I've started to use more and more now. It's a bit like having somebody changing your sound for you. At the same time, it frees you up as a player to really concentrate on technical parts or concentrate on the performance if you're not worrying about, okay, now I've got to change my sound and now I've got to do this. Now when recording, it means that I'm not having to pause stop the video, change my guitar sound and then carry on again. It means that it feels more of a performance than me recording sections of the song and then piecing it all together, which I don't really think is a cover. You're just able to play the different parts of the song separately. Sometimes it's difficult to go from one part to the next, and that's part of the fun. So anyway, we've got this guitar part, and I don't know if you can hear, on the track there is like this reverbed lead part that kind of sits in the mix slightly. I can see the camera's jumping, so I apologise. But it kind of goes a little bit like... something like that, but I think it's got some reverb on there, so I'm just going to add a little bit of Space Designer on there. Let's turn it down a little bit, the wet signal. And then there's some delay as well. Quarter notes, I don't think it's going to be quick enough. No. So let's go to 8th note. But I don't want that for the whole sound, right? That's not the one sound that goes through the whole track. So what we need to do is automate it, and this is the coolest thing about recording with Logic for me, and I'm sure that other DAWs do it as well. So I'm going to go into my automation, which is A for automation, and then be able to bypass Space Designer and Delay Designer, so that's your reverb and the delay. And you basically just add keyframes in when you don't want it. In the right place helps. So that's an example of automation, but you could do anything on there. For instance, if I wanted to add, let's say, a stereo tremolo sound, make it really obvious that it's kicking in. Let's say, for instance, that I wanted that in there. So I'm just going to play a few bars and you'll hear tremolo, and after the 4 counts it's going to turn off. But we don't want that in there, so I'm going to get rid of the tremolo. So I'm looking at this to see whether I'm framed good or not. Okay, so I'm conscious that it's getting a little bit dark now, so I try to do this as quick as I can. It's probably going to be not a perfect guitar cover, but we'll do the best we can. Right, so this is going to be rhythm guitar part. Just turning it up a little bit. So So that's one take. Obviously you didn't see it all, but I'm sure you'll spot things in the finished video that means that I was in fact using this footage. And now we're just going to move the camera somewhere else and record another take, maybe this view. Cool. There we go. Right, so that's one guitar part down. One guitar part down. Check your tuning real quick. That's another thing to note as well. Always check your tuning. Particularly when you're messing around with your tuning that you would normally be in. For me, it's normally drop C sharp. Now I'm in drop C. As you can see, I should probably have checked this before. All that delay. I feel like I'm Steve Vai. So let's do this other guitar part. So angle number 1. Where are we gonna go? Here we go. I'm just gonna come in here, okay? And then another angle real quick, which could be don't really want all that crap in the background. Maybe there. That'll do. Right, so that's the guitar tracks recorded and done. What I'll do now is I'm going to carry on working on the tracks, basically. In fact, I'll do it right now. So now I'm going to solo the guitar parts. So I'm going to solo the left version first, or the left side first, and I'm going to bounce that. I'll call that part of me, guitar, left. So So that's going to bounce down just the guitar part with any automation that's in there as well, and pan everything to the left. I'll do the exact same thing for the guitar that's on the right side, and then we'll have two files, left guitar, right guitar, and I can use those to mix into the track when we're in Final Cut Pro. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing with the guitar that's on the right, bounce that down. Once that's done, we can then start to move everything into Final Cut Pro. There we go, all done. So I'm going to stop this video now because I need to get the videos off it, and I'm currently still recording this 40-minute long video. So in the next video, I'm going to go over how I edit in Final Cut Pro. So see you at the next one. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know what your thoughts are. Peace.